And you will see that in the Vedic astrology era right now, they're calling it the goddess age, right? Don't be afraid of that. Please don't be afraid of that. The goddess age is, if we truly understand it, a realization that the goddess does not work without the god, and that we need to go back to not hating each other and understanding that we choose to be feminine or masculine, but we can also tap into the other energies. If your job is not serving you, if your lifestyle is not serving you, you need to ask for help with your spirit guides or your angels, because you're not serving the women in your life or your children in your life if you are doing something because you have to, but you are smothering your soul, you are destroying your sense of self.
Hello and welcome to Real Men Feel. I'm your host, author, coach, and healer, Andy Grant. You can learn more about me by visiting theandygrant.com. Real Men Feel reminds men that they're human beings and have the right to experience and express all of their emotions. We have conversations that most men are not having, but that all men and the women who love them can benefit from. My guest today is Katische Haberfield. Katische is a past life regression therapist, author, medium, poet, and direct channeler of divine feminine and divine masculine energies. Katische takes us on a deep dive into channeling, the Archangels, and the divine feminine and masculine. She opens up about how uncomfortable she's been as a channeler, the differences between channels, psychics, and mediums, and her experience in body selection before she was born. She also shares what she's most concerned about for the sake of her sons, and has a message for the men of the world. Let's do it. Hello, Katische, and welcome to Real Men Feel.
Hi, Andy. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. You're a channeler of divine feminine and masculine energies. So what brings a person to that? Was there a pivotal moment in your life that put you on this path?
Lots and lots of different things all came together, but I guess probably my work in the fields of understanding how to communicate with our ancestors and our loved ones who haven't made it to the afterlife is probably the main thing that led to my training to be able to channel, because I had to learn fundamentally how to communicate with those who were desperate for help and who were stuck in the in-between realms before I could learn to hear a higher vibration. So I had to learn to work with and facilitate those in extreme distress and attune my body to that vibration, which is, quite a shock to the system, before I could, prove myself through the service that I've done through helping all of the stuck souls and individuals to go to the light, so that they would trust that I had good intentions and that I had and could trust myself to bring through a message. Because I don't know if your listeners know much about channeling, but I've learned through watching other people, and there are amazing individuals who channel like Basha, who actually move themselves aside, and then the entity embodies in their, and they have their eyes closed. And so the channeler is basically it's like a semi-state of consciousness. They don't remember the conversation at all in any way, shape, or form. And you can talk to somebody, and I've never seen Basher in real life, I only watched him on YouTube, but he wakes up, he comes back into his body and he goes, "Did that help?" He's got no recollection, and he watches back the video afterwards and says, "Oh, okay, that's interesting. I'll take some notes for myself." But so Katische, stay in my body, and I have to use my mental capacities and spiritual capacities to interpret the messages that I'm getting simultaneously. So it's the divine feminine or masculine basically uses my knowledge and my skill set and my set of life circumstances to explain and use examples, rather than me being pushed aside and them just saying, "Right, I'm taking over the session. This is what I want you to use." It's more of I guess it's how they help me understand what I chose to come in this lifetime to do and what I've chosen to do in other lifetimes. And it can be quite confronting. And often I will say things and I'm like, "Oh, right, I didn't know that." Or, "Oh, I didn't know that we were going to say that in this show." But it's always with good intention, and it's how I learn and I validate and I check things that I've learned on TV and newspapers and magazines and books that I've read since my early 20s to test, is this spiritual concept or this life concept, does it resonate with me? Does it match my experience? And I'm a real mentalist, like a really logical and rational person. And so for me, it has been quite the struggle to say, I'm a management consultant, I'm a university lecturer, and I like forms and processes and procedures and strategies. And this has to use a whole different part of my brain, a whole different consciousness. And I'm really uncomfortable with it. But I have to fight my inner fear and trust that it knows where it wants to go. So that's a long way of answering your question, but I hope that's a good enough start to get the conversation flowing.
Yeah, and so I really appreciate the specifics about channeling. So channeling is allowing another energy to come into your body, either fully or partially, to communicate whatever they have to say. Because I wanted to ask, for the sake of everyone listening, if you could explain the difference between a channel, a psychic, and a medium.
Yeah, good question. So, people can only explain it in their own terms. And a medium to me is somebody who is like a radio signal, like a radio antenna or a mobile phone tower, if you want to. They can sense different frequencies that wish to communicate with them. And now, not all frequencies are well-intentioned. And some may have messages, some are different thought forms that are floating around. Thoughts go through the ether, through the air, and sometimes they're not even ours. But a medium specifically sets an intention and says, well, hopefully, I wish to be of service. I feel there's energy around me that wants to come through. Let me do my procedures. Let me make sure I'm safe. You're not allowed to come into my energy field, but I can sense your energy. What do you have to say? Now I'll open the door to communication with you, and please identify yourself. And so depending upon your mediumship skills, and this is no reflection on other mediums, but I found it frustrating when I was going and watching live mediumship sessions and, registering for people's paid events, that they would come through with, I'm getting a letter A, and this person here is for someone in the audience, and it's like a grandma figure. I was like, I need more than that, like, why can't you bring through sentences and full instructions and whatever? The thing is, they're doing the best that they can. But because I'm such a, if you'd like to say, a masculine energy in a female body, meaning in the proudest sense of masculinity, I'm a very protective, goal-focused, results-orientated person. And so I'm like, if I'm going to bring through a message, I don't want it to be waffly. I want people to understand my communication. And they're coming to me because they have a problem to solve. But yet I'm also, this time around, a female. And so I struggle with the fact that in my own past life regression sessions, I've brought through mostly males to learn the art of what it feels like to be masculine, the challenges that I have felt in other lifetimes, so that when I come in and do a mediumship session, I can go, oh, that's a man. And I know easily because I know that energy. I've tapped into my soul. I've experienced some, looking at the back of your sign there, warrior lifetimes, some king lifetimes, some magician lifetimes, and some feminine, more feminine kind of lifetimes. And so my training has been learning about myself so that I can identify in signs and symbols, colors and codes, also quadrants in my mind, what is the message, who is saying it, and how can I be the most direct? Because I also don't like to waste people's time. For a psychic, you can, in my best way to explain it, is that a psychic has an intention to read the energy around them and help the person bring through wisdom. But a psychic usually is involved with reading the energy of the person. So say if you, Andy, came to me and said, can you tell me what's going on in my life at the moment? A psychic might say, sure, give me a minute. And some psychics can read auras, or, they can do all sorts of different things. So they get messages from you, the person, rather than your archangels or your deceased grandma or somebody who's stuck or whoever it is. So that's how I put it in 3 categories: is what's the intention of the message? Are you reading the energy of the person in front of you? Or is it a message that comes in from somebody who needs help? Or is it for humanity's purpose? So I try to box it. And, you know, my first training was a management consultant. So I like flow diagrams and charts, and I can't figure out how to do that. I've tried many times to go on different software tools and explain things via diagrams, but I still can't work it out because it's too airy and fluffy. But I hope that sort of compartmentalizes it for people who are listening, that there are different boxes, and depending upon our intention and what the person needs for a session or a message, you can categorize them into different boxes. But also, I do believe that every single person on earth has the capacity to be any of those: a psychic, a medium, a psychic medium, and a channeler. But it depends upon the body that they choose when they come in, as to the body's capacity. Not all bodies are the same, and we choose the body for the purpose. And what is it that we're here for? Do we need to learn those skills? And mostly, I believe psychic skills can most commonly be used for ourselves in terms of understanding intuition and those gut responses which say, am I safe or am I not? And so I would say to people who are listening, you are psychic when you say, I need to stop at this light, or I'm going to turn left and get off the freeway here, or maybe I need to run back in and get my wallet. And I might just sit down for a minute because I think there's a reason why I left my wallet in my house. And meanwhile, by leaving your wallet in the house, maybe you missed the drunk driver, or maybe you had to catch a later bus and the love of your life ended up being on that bus. Who knows? But your psychic skills are predominantly there to connect you with your intuition and your higher self so that you can say, I'm okay, basically.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. I tell people all the time that everybody is psychic. It's just,
Yeah.
you accept it? Do you believe it? Do you use it? Do you exercise it, build on it? But yeah, that base ability is available to everybody. So you have a connection with the Archangels, and I really want to know how do you experience that? Is that a energy takeover? Is that a visual thing? Is it hearing what they're saying? What is it like for you?
I smile here because it's mostly a lot of a very casual communication. It's banter, because what they have showed me through my training is that they have tried to communicate with me in many lifetimes with many levels of success. And so predominantly in this lifetime, they were here as sort of a transition facility to say, radio, let's move you on past us. But to be honest with you, Andy, I've identified most with Archangel Michael, and that's not a surprise, because most people, when you say an archangel's name, they'll come up with Archangel Michael, right? They'll go Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Archangel, whoever comes to their tongue. And because he's seen as the protector, and he is a religious figure, a biblical figure, but he's also more than that. And so my job in this lifetime has been to learn to let go of him. And that has been quite a frightening experience for me, because I've had to undergo lots of training that is not the purpose of this podcast, but in a therapy called spirit releasement therapy. But as part of that, I've had to learn to call in angelic assistance to help me whilst I had my training wheels on, so to speak, because I was like, I need to understand fear and what it means for a human being to be afraid, whether they are male or female, and who's the strongest person that I can get to show me. Well, in Archangel Michael, because, he's the one who slayed the serpent or the devil or whatever you want to do as your religious memory. And so he was my main archangel to connect with. But also, he was wanting to work with other people. But because we worked together in so many different lifetimes, we have a sort of a buddy, brother kind of a feeling. And so he banters. And I didn't know this until I started doing past life regression therapy, and my clients would bring him through, and they would explain to me what he looked like. And it wasn't like the religious iconography. He came to them in their sessions, and he's always presented to me as like Fred Astaire in Singing in the Rain, with a full black suit, top hat and tails, and he's dancing. And he always makes me laugh, and he always makes my clients laugh, and he's sarcastic, and it has made me question, is this really Archangel Michael? Nobody else sees him like that. And he showed me the different ways that other people have seen him, but he's like, I have to be true to our relationship. And part of the test in this lifetime is if you can determine a fake spirit guide or a real one, including archangels. And I've come across fake archangels, and I can tell you it's nasty. Because the purpose of that is partly with your intuition and guidance to say, what is going on around me? Do I trust this wisdom that is coming through? And so I have had lifetimes where I have been a Roman, and Archangel Zadkiel has come through. And he has shown himself to me in a Roman warrior suit. And he laughs, and I've said it on other podcasts too, where he says, I spent the entire lifetime trying to get you to see the destruction you are causing through the battles that you Romans were using to conquest other lands. But I also understand that's just part of being masculine. You conquer, you protect, you explore. You've got this real urge to see what the world's about and what is out there, and how you can have a bigger property, how you can feed your children, how you can have more satisfaction in your life. But I couldn't get through to you in that lifetime. And each time I've tried a different way. And this time I'm going to dovetail, if you wish to use that word, on the back of Archangel Michael, and he will bring through my essence. And we'll do it through your spirit releasement and past life regression therapy clients and on your podcast. But also, you need to remember that you're a female in this lifetime. And life has brought you a lot of challenges, and you're a single mum. You've been a single mum for a long time after a divorce. And you need to learn that you embody both masculine and feminine aspects within your role of being in a female suit. Because like any man who is a single dad, you also have to be a nurturer. So you have feminine qualities. You have to be masculine in that you need to protect. But also, a female does protect her child as well. So you need to understand in this lifetime that you embody both the feminine and the masculine. And in order to do that, you need to do a little bit of work with Archangel Zadkiel, and then we're going to move you on to somebody else. So I hope that answers your question.
So is that why in the beginning you said, even though you have this great relationship with Archangel Michael and you have this banter, but it was your mission to let go of him. So you need to let go of him to move into your femininity.
Okay. Yeah, because now they want me to work with both the divine feminine and the divine masculine in different ways, but they like, you're a female in this lifetime. Do you get it? You know, have a look at yourself. Go look, take your clothes off, look in the mirror. You're a female. You're not a male. We've let you experience all of your masculine lifetime so you can understand and appreciate the masculine in your life, because you have two sons, right? You don't have a husband. You didn't get on well with your husband. That's fine. That was a karmic relationship. It served its purpose. You're not bagging him, but you're by yourself now. You don't have to be the man. You're the female. So, and we want to show you how to embody the energies so you can honor, so humanity can see, yes, we choose a bodysuit, but it's a confusing time. And we all naturally have to move in and out of masculine and feminine roles, no matter what our bodysuit is. And so you have spent the last 10 years in a real warrior kind of I must protect, I must expand, and I must conquer my mind to understand what I'm here for. And now they're like, okay, you ready to be Katisha? She's a girl. You ready? I'm like, no. Does that mean I have to lose Archangel Michael? Yes. He's comes to you as a bloke. He's a masculine energy. And I've cried and screamed, no, I can't do it. You can't leave me. And he comes like, oh, here we go. Are you ready yet? No. And finally I'm ready. And I've let him go. But he's still there if I need him.
Right, yeah. And he's there for anybody that needs him, right?
That's right. Yeah, you just have to speak in your mind or out loud, and they're there for you, but they don't like to be used as a clutch, and that's what they're trying to show me. They're there if they need, because there's a world of interesting, beautiful frequencies and light beings that also have messages. And they want us to learn that expansion can go through the frequency of love, not fear.
Is every woman channeling the divine feminine, and is every man channeling the divine masculine? Or is the divinity versions of that different from just walking around day to day in this human suit?
Yeah, so there's two concepts here. One is that you're not the body that you're in, because we actually do select our body before we come into this life. And so it's when we go to the between lives sessions with my clients, so, they leave their body, they see the spirit float up and high, they do a life review, and then we can take them to the soul council and they choose their next lifetime. So it's a huge long checklist, but in the human mind, we see it in a period of 20 minutes, right? And when we do the body selection process, my mind just goes, tick, yep, she took that one off the suit rack, and actually she had 3 options. But I really didn't understand it, in all honesty, Andy, until this morning. In the middle of the night, they explained my body selection choice, and I'll keep that private. But there were certain reasons that I chose my body and to come in female this time, because it actually had to do with ancestral issues that I am helping heal through both sides of my family. And I didn't know that until the middle of the night, until they showed me very clearly where my body stores fear. So the body is chosen to help you. And so because the body that you choose, and it to be honest, I haven't done somebody who's changed gender or who comes in with gender dysmorphia or some kind of a struggle with their physical identity. I haven't had clients like that, so I can't tell you for people with all the different experiences of wanting to be a different gender. But I know for people that come in as a female and are happy with being a female, or come in as a male and are happy as being a male and don't wish to change that implicit in the body of the suit that they choose is the divine feminine and the divine masculine. But the thing is that we have to understand that we are not our body, we are spirit. And spirit is essentially doesn't have a label that we humans call masculine or feminine, but it has qualities. And so Archangel Michael could put on a dress if he liked, and he would put it on happily if that's the way you needed to see it. But we humans are complex and we use our mind to create pictures. And so it really just does depend upon who you have chosen to be in this lifetime. But yeah, you are your essence, and your essence is not your name, and it's not who you are. It's more than that. It's a composite of all the lifetimes you have ever had and all the personalities. And it's just so hard to explain, but you just have to trust that you have access to whatever energy you need to help you understand who you are at precisely the right time, even if it feels like it's precisely the wrong time.
But is that part of the key that many people don't use? You must ask, or you must take some sort of effort, do something consciously to access the energies that are different, that are in you in the moment for whatever is needed next.
Yeah, so my higher self would say you need not to learn not to be stubborn as Katische. And it's taken her nearly 50 years to ask for help in any shape or form. So it's a part of that is, yes, they are always surrounding you and they are here to help, but we have free will. And so they are bound by how you determine free will. And if you made contracts before you came down to help a person or do a thing, they're contracts in your own mind. And so they kind of look, if you imagine they had a great big scroll or a checklist, right? I know this soul, this is her essence. So I know that in this lifetime, she is Katische. She could be Alfred in another lifetime. But right now I'm with her in this moment in time in the constraints of Earth. And according to my energy signatures that I can see for her, she said she wants to do this, this, and this. But she's stuck. And I can help her. I'm standing right next to her or right in front of her. And she cannot, for the life of her, say out loud, I need some help. And so for some people, it's simply getting to a point, and maybe they take their whole lifetime to do it, that says, help. And then they would say, dear, who do you want help from? And maybe you yell out in the middle of the night to your mum or your grandma or somebody. And if they're in the sky or the ether, they will respond with a message or a dream or whatever. But what they want us to understand is we are always surrounded by the ancestors, the angels, all the different light beings. and all of them can help us. But the one that you cry out in your most afraid moments and moments of distress is the one that you resonate with at that time of fear. And that energy will come forward and help you. But they also want you to move through your fear and understand that you might be holding them back a bit because they have other things they want to do. Even angels and archangels have other experiences they want to experience. And when you move past fear, you can say, oh, Dad, I love you. And I know you're in the light, but can you find an angel to help me right now? And then they'll come in and dance in front of you or do whatever they want. And then you're like, oh, I know that energy signature. And so now next time I need help, I'll say, Archangel Michael, can you help me? He was like, here I am. I was already here. All right, now show me how you can help me. Well, and different people say, well, he put a feather in front of me, or he stopped a truck running into me, or he's made a rainbow appear, or whatever it is. But it's a process that you work through according to your mind and your experiences. And I think I've completely lost the point of my question. But yes, we can be involved with any energy that we like.
Yeah, I often say that oftentimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help. And
Yeah.
when I share that, I'm usually not thinking about connecting to angels, but you're pointing out, yes, that works with the archangels as well. So that's great. Do you find that men and women experience spirituality differently, or do they carry different spiritual wounds, or like are all humans the same, or are men and women different in spiritual for the sake of spirituality?
Yeah, so look, I've had lifetimes as a female, and this is the only way I know how to answer that, where I have been a warrior-like personality, like a Viking queen I've had as a past life memory. And so does she embody the essence of just a female? Well, yes, I saw her crown when I did an Akashic record session. And it was a very delicate, very fragile, beautiful, petite little crown. But she was fierce. She would be scary to run into in a pub on a dark, stormy night because she was brave and bold. And so she embodied who she needed to be in that lifetime, and she experienced spirituality through nature because that was the time. And, she was also a conqueror and a protector. So it really just does depend upon the lifetime and what you are actually here for, because you could also be, and I haven't discovered this for myself, but like a Disney kind of a princess and have some kind of a cared for, pampered female existence, or a cared for masculine prince-like existence. And why don't I remember that if everybody goes through similar sort of experiences? And the answer that I've only been able to access is because in those lifetimes, if I was pampered for, if I was cared for, if I was loved, and I went to the light at the end of my life and I was satisfied, then that is a beautiful experience for the soul, and there was nothing to be healed. Whereas if I've had and can access a memory in the Akashic records, or through past life regression, or through writing poetry, or however you remember the essence of yourself in another lifetime, that is coming through either for two reasons. One, there's some knowledge or wisdom that you need to tap into that is relevant for you in this lifetime. Or B, there's some unfinished business and some unhealing business that either their body that they chose in that lifetime couldn't cope with, or they didn't get finished with, or they haven't gone to the light and they're still in the middle of a process of a review because they need to tell somebody, this happened to me and it wasn't okay, and I regret what happened, and I took this action and I'm still stuck here because I'm worried about it, and I don't want you to do the same thing, and you are me, and I'm frightened for you because I don't think I don't think our greater soul has learnt the lesson yet, and I don't want you to repeat the mistake. So to answer your question, again, and it seems frustrating to say it, we can be both and everything and only one if we need to be. But it is really, really personal, and it's only an answer that you can answer when you say help. Who am I? Why am I here? Why am I struggling? Why am I not seeing results? And sometimes Archangel Michael will say to me, remember, you need to do 50% of the effort, which is part of the last question, which is, have you tried? Sometimes I'll get to the end of the day and I'll throw my hands up in the air and I'll say, oh, I didn't get done what I wanted to do today. And they'll say, all right, talk me through what you did today. Oh, I did a load of washing. I took my kid to the doctor. I did the bus run. I did the grocery shop. I did a podcast interview. I went on somebody else's podcast. And I still didn't get to do my social media posts to attract a client. And they're like, did you just follow? Did you write a list? And I'm like, no, because I followed what needed to be done. And they said, well, that's all you're meant to do ever. Follow the first thing that you need to do that says, this is urgent. It's like the old time management systems. It's like you can have lots of different buckets. What's urgent? What's going to burn down your house on fire? What feels like, oh, I can't do that today. I don't want to do it. It's a real push. And what sounds like, oh, that's a lovely thing. I'll just, and then there's the, oh, I have to do that. And so in every moment with every choice we make, we go, oh, I should do that. And if I go, oh, I should do a post on social media, they're like, the person is going to feel that, oh, you know what I mean? And they're going to go, that's not genuine. That's not authentic. And for me, my number one value across all lifetimes has been authenticity. And so they're like, well, you can try, put it up, do a post. If you feel obligated to do it, do it. And see if you get crickets. And I get crickets. And they're like, right, well, wasn't it the right time, was it? So you're blaming and chastising yourself for just doing family-related things. Well, because that's what you needed to do. And part of being spiritual being is to know that you are both a spiritual being and a human being. And whilst we are told by lots of gurus to be a being, we are also a doing as well. We have to do. Otherwise, we could all lay down on the couch and just go, I'm ready to die. But if you try to do that, if you just said, I've had enough today and I just want to die right now, you can't.
Right.
Try it.
Yeah, I've tried that. It doesn't work.
I've tried it too. It doesn't work, right? I've said, I've had enough. Come and take me. And they're like, okay, close your eyes and say, I'm ready to die. Yeah. Did it work? No. Right. Well, there's not time for you to die. You still haven't done your jobs.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Cool. So you mentioned Akashic Records, and that. So I've done Akashic Record readings for a dozen years now, and that's the closest. My experience is opening the record for someone else is the closest I have to a channeling experience, because I do feel my energy change. I feel the vibration rise, and I often don't remember what was said. Some people have told me that I spoke with accents or did some weird, I were just it's not me. So that's it's like the closest thing I've had to channeling. So I know you have 2 sons.
Yeah.
Right? So what's your biggest concern for them as you look at the state of the world today?
Well, it's a good question. And I remember going, so just a little bit of a story. When I was going through my divorce, I found myself spending a lot of time in a Buddhist monastery, right? And I went to a film festival. I had a little mini film festival one evening. And I remember watching, it was about men's rituals to mark the passage of time, to mark becoming a man. And I went up to the film director at the end and I said, I'm a single mum. Unfortunately, their dad works away. He has to for his work. He has to support us. And he's chosen that. It lights him up. It sets his soul on fire. He's really good at it. And he can't be in a city, so he can't be near us. And I've honored that. But I also know that I've tried, but I'm a female. And I'm worried about when they get to the time that traditionally in traditional societies, there would be some kind of an initiation which said to them, you're now a man. And I'm like, I'm a woman. And at that time, my dad had just died of prostate cancer. And I knew even then at that time that prostate cancer is both a physical disease, but also a spiritual sign that there's something up in your life which said, I am a man, but I have also felt displaced in my body in this lifetime. I felt that I had to do something to earn an income. And he said to me many times, I feel like a square peg in a round hole. And so I would say in the last few years of his life, he was excellent, fantastic at his job. And he got great fulfillment. But it came with a lot of struggle and sweat and things that he didn't wish to have chosen for his personal experience. But he had a wife and he had 2 daughters and he had things that he wanted to achieve for them. And he also had a wife who had a whole section of things that she had missed out on in her childhood that she wanted for her children. So there was that balance and that compromise. Oh, my wife wants this. I don't really care about that aspect, but it's really, really important for her. So I have to make sacrifices. And for us, he had to move into a new country, to Papua New Guinea, a third world country, to earn an income. And I had to go to boarding school. And we had gone on the tour of the boarding school, which was unrenovated the year before they left for PNG. And he just joked. He was a real joker, but people didn't get his sense of humour. You either got him or you didn't. And I remember him saying to me, "Oh, if you're a naughty girl, Katische, we'll send you to boarding school." Like, it was just a joke. And what happened? He had an opportunity to move out of a soul-sucking job and go into a new division. And they would pay for my private school education. And he's like, "Well, I'm struggling financially to do it myself. My wife is doing a job that she once loved, but it's also soul-sucking for her. What if we split up our family? And the eldest one, who seems to be resilient, can go to boarding school and we'll take the little one with us." And so they went to a different country and I saw them 4 times a year. And my father would cry every time he would come home to visit me on a business trip. He would take me down the road to an Italian restaurant with a singing waiter, which was amazing. And he would walk me up the hill. And I knew when he would then walk down to the hill to his accommodation, which no longer exists, that he cried. He was a soft man. And so to answer your question, my children are both masculine and feminine. And I have 2 different sorts of men who, one is 18 now and one is 16, turning 17. One is, and I affectionately call him my He-Man. He's into bodybuilding. He's built himself a beautiful body with dedication because he wants to be a real bloke, like the muscle bloke, proud of his appearance. He's immaculately dressed. He needs to bond with men. He likes it. He doesn't have a dad with him full time. So I sent him to an all boys school so he could be surrounded by males and men teachers. And we've been blessed to have a smattering of female teachers, but he's been surrounded during the day with men. And that was intentional for me. It's a long story, but anyway. And my other son, he's like the Cambridge scholar or the Oxford scholar. If you imagine Archangel Michael embodied in him, he's like that. And he's quiet and sensitive, and he's fiercely proud and fiercely academic, and he shows his masculine qualities in different ways that are like a scholar. And they are both different aspects of masculinity. And both men, both boys who, the little one looks older than the older one. He gets mistaken for being 20 when he's 16. They both had their issues with their father, which they've overcome with time. I must have put a wish out into the universe because last year my son went on a Kokoda Trail hike, and that is in PNG, and that is the trail that the Australians defended Papua New Guinea and Australia from the invasion of the Japanese, right? So it is a brutal, brutal hike. It's classified as one of the most difficult in the world. And, it is a dangerous hike. And from the moment that they decided to go on the hike, and my ex-husband paid for that, and he and my little son decided to do that. He offered it to my bigger son, but he said, "No, that's not me." They had to rigorously, brutally train for that. And I knew I was afraid. I was afraid that my ex-husband wouldn't train enough to get fit enough because he's a lot older than me I didn't want him dying on that hike. I'm protective of my son and of my ex-husband because I was like, what's the worst case scenario? Both of them don't train enough and one or both of them die on the track, right? And I also knew that I had to let my son go and have an initiation experience. I was also sad that I've never returned to Papua New Guinea because I also considered it one of my homes, because wherever I rest my head, I feel at home. And I've worried about Papua New Guinea and the corruption and brutality and the lack of education for citizens and trying to understand the culture because it was an eye-opener for me. And I loved it. And I would like to go back to PNG, but it wasn't part of my requirements. And it was a dangerous hike. They had to helicopter a man out who was in a life-threatening condition. And my son stood next to that man as he almost lost his life. And so you could say, did my wish come true? Yes, my son was confronted with a near-death experience of another man with his father by his side. Yes, he got his initiation and he got to do something very masculine for him. And then my other son went on a beautiful cultural experience with his father to Vietnam. And that was appropriate for his intellect and his way to discover food and culture but they were both different versions of masculinity. And for me, they were both initiations, and now I believe they are both men. Not eternally, because I have to be careful with my words. I have done eternal vows to people before, and that is a catch. I am grateful that my husband, who became my ex-husband, was able to tap into his true essence and say, I need to give these boys an experience with me that may challenge us all, but I know that my boys will then be men and they can relate to me as men, not just as dad.
Right.
And so in a way I had to hand them over and say, I'm not a man. Yeah. I can't do those initiations. Here you go, Dad.
I wonder if you have any message or recently have received any messages for men that are hesitant to ask for help or right on the brink of exploring their own spirituality and growth. Anything for them?
Yes. So my wisdom for them is, it is time to do your work. And you will see that in the Vedic astrology era right now, they're calling it the goddess age, right? Don't be afraid of that. Please don't be afraid of that. The goddess age is, if we truly understand it, a realization that the goddess does not work without the god. And that we need to go back to not hating each other and understanding that we choose to be feminine or masculine, but we can also tap into the other energies. And we have done healing in other lifetimes, but now it's time for the man to say, how can I honor the intention of all the relationships I'm in? Where do I need to be the feminine? Where do I need to be the masculine? But most importantly, can I stop putting myself, like Katisha's father, in a situation where I'm a square peg in a round hole to protect my family? If it's not serving you, if your job is not serving you, if your lifestyle is not serving you, you need to ask for help with your spirit guides or your angels, because I get quite emotional about this, because you're not serving the women in your life or your children in your life if you are doing something because you have to, but you are smothering your soul, you are destroying your sense of self, because you will die with regrets, and your children and your wife or your husband, if you're that way inclined, will die with regrets that they didn't let you get to be who you were, because they need to see you for you. And we all need to see ourselves for ourselves. But if one person in our household is not allowed to be who they truly are, the rest of the people in our household aren't allowed to be who they truly are. And that would be the message.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. I agree 100%. Katish, tell me about your podcast.
My podcast is called The Infinite Life with Katische Haberfield. It started out as an exploration, which said, I think I've reincarnated before. And it went with my first experience of me explaining the story of turning up to the Buddhist monastery, going, help, I don't think I can be married anymore. And saying that breaks every personal value that I ever had about starting a family. Why am I experiencing this? And having, it's episode 1, if anyone wants to listen to it, a very deep experience with the Geshe, who's like the head monk, where I recognized that he was my mother in a past lifetime. And a profound emotional healing that I had, and it was confirmed by all the nuns. And then saying, okay, that was a bit weird. I need to look after my children now, and I'm going to forget all of that for a good period of time. And then for some unknown reason, I'm going to be drawn to healing myself in lockdown, and I'm going to get a pair of singing bowls, and I'm going to start understanding sound and light as a vibration. And that led me to past life regression. And I said, how can anybody understand if you lived before, if you don't trust that somebody says, I'm King Arthur or whatever it is? I'm going to turn a video on in my sessions with full written consent of the participants and see where it takes us. And so I think we've done over 100 case studies of past lives in this location on Earth and in other dimensions and other frequencies. And that's what the podcast set out to do, is me saying, I'm a university lecturer, I'm a management consultant, but there's something else. I need to understand myself, and I need some people to help me. And the brave souls who came on the podcast all identify themselves as people that my soul knows. So there's 100 case studies of reincarnation. And if you don't believe in reincarnation, that's okay. But if you are inclined, you can also listen to Archangel Zadkiel talk about animals, or channel wisdom of animals. And you could talk to people fascinating that I interview on my podcast. But I had this urge to conquer my own question was, have I lived before? And I needed to leave some kind of legacy.
Nice. What's the best way for people to find out all the things that you're up to?
Just type my name, Katische, in Google, and you'll get my website, which is justkatische.com, and you can have a look at whatever resonates with you there.
Awesome. I really thank you for your time, sharing all the powerful things that you have experienced and continue to experience. And I love how you're using your experience to serve other people, open them up, and to me, that's what the world needs more of. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Please visit realmenfeel.org, see the blog post for this episode. We'll have links to all the various resources discussed. Wherever you're discovering Real Men Feel, please subscribe, like, follow, do all the things you can on the platform you're on. If this conversation has opened up a desire in you to dive deeper into your own spirituality, please visit theandygrant.com and consider an Akashic record reading. They are powerful, insightful, and healing. Until next time, be good to yourself.